Hold on. So good morning, Michael. I see you are here with your Pez friends. We always love to have the guys and gals there joining us. And welcome to all of you out there, video land, that view these videos. We sure do hope they're helpful. And today we're going to talk about qualifying for a home loan, doing some math today. So how are you? Give us an introduction for yourself.
Hey, Laura, thanks. Michael Kurtianik, Macintosh Realtors, here in the studio with my only friends in the world, my Pez dispensers. These little shots of sugar help me make it through the day and the week and the month. And I maybe took a couple before this video. So if I talk too much or too fast, Laura, that's on me.
It's all due to the Pez. So that's his stress remedy. Is
Yep.
couple Pez rectangles, because they're not squares, they're rectangle candies. They're kind of like sweet tarts, right?
Yeah, I would say they're akin to that. Yeah.
They're cousins to sweet tarts, but
Indeed.
sweet tarts are round.
Indeed. Hey, by the way, I know that our viewers won't care that I'm bringing this up, but really quickly, do you like Kit Kat bars?
No, I'm more of a Heath bar kind of gal with dark
Okay.
chocolate.
Okay, well, let me tell you why I asked that question. Because, and for the viewers out there, maybe this is value added for you, or maybe I'm just talking gibberish, but they're coming out with a Kit Kat cereal. So you can pour Kit Kat out of the box and add milk and have a cereal, Kit Kat cereal.
Oh no, because Kit Kats are really cookies with
like wafers,
caramel and chocolate.
Are you thinking of a Snickers bar?
No, it's gonna have those wafers with some caramel.
You break them open. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't eat. I'm a dark chocolate gal.
Okay.
And I like my dark chocolate with nuts.
Okay.
And
so to the viewers out there, if you want to send a gift to Laura, now you know. And with me, it's either Pez or Kit Kat cereal. So
oh my goodness,
everybody.
Yeah, because I have to avoid sugar. So
I hear you. I hear you. Well, listen, so
We're
introduce
gonna-
yourself and tell us about the topic today. I'm really excited about the PowerPoint you have
I'm
today.
going to do a screen share, and we're going to talk about what it means when you're qualifying for a mortgage. So you know what the math is when you're talking to your lender. And this is going to just take me a second to get this little set up here.
And tell us who you're with, Laura, in case we have first-time viewers.
I am Laura Fournier. I am with Nations Lending. We are a national mortgage lender. We underwrite, fund, close, and service our loan portfolio. So it's great. So I'm your lender for life. I'm your intentional confidant, taking you through the process and keeping going even after you get to that wonderful day of settlement. So that's awesome. I should also change that as well. So we're going to talk about what it means when you're qualifying for a mortgage and what those elements are. We're going to talk about income sources, the housing ratio, your monthly obligations, and the debt to income, DTI, debt to income ratio. I should type that out. So that's what's on the agenda today. Isn't that exciting, Michael?
Yeah, no, this is great. So let's start with the elements of qualifying. What does it mean to qualify for a mortgage loan?
So when you qualify for a mortgage loan, and I'll answer the question that's dangling here. We'll just go back to that for a minute. Where this is actually Webster dictionaries. To qualify means to fit by training, skill, or ability for a special purpose, to declare competent or adequate. So in the case of obtaining a mortgage loan, when you qualify, it means that you're fitting into the guidelines for that particular loan that you have the ability to repay the loan based on your income, your credit, and the employment.
Right.
So those are like the major factors of a loan. So when you qualify, it's kind of like a green check mark that you are good to go out shopping in that particular price range, that it would say your loan officer would tell you. I tell my clients the amount with some basic, movement in that number. And we also talk to the realtor about that number and how we have to adjust it if like property taxes are substantially higher, or certain things like there's a huge HOA or condo fee, then we have to adjust some of those numbers. So
Right.
it's not like a static number. It has to be flexible because there's other things that come into play in making that number.
Right. And that's why it's important that before I take people out to look at properties, I need to know what those numbers are. And I need to have some semblance from the lender, from you, Laura, that yea, verily, that they are qualified for this amount in this area. So yeah, that's why I'm the second person to talk to. The lender's the first.
Right, exactly. So this is a great question, and like to explain this, that there is a difference between what I, as a loan officer, tell the client that they qualify for, but they're the ones that really need to know if it's right for their budget. Is that number and does that mortgage payment fit into their spending plan, into their budget? Does it make sense for them given how they like to spend their money? Now, I, as a loan officer, do try to dig a little deeper. That's why I'm my client's intentional confidant. I want to dig deeper into how they like to spend their money, because it's important to know, like, do they have a lot of pets that they have extra expenses for? Do they like to travel? Do they like to eat out the majority of the time? Do they give lavish gifts? All of these things that require, you know, chunks of your income. If you like to have more income going towards these, extra things, these ancillary add-ons in your life, then you probably should have a smaller housing expense payment so that you have more of your money to go towards the other things that you like to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and let me, I'll share with you a conversation that I had with somebody. It's the same side of that coin, Laura, where you can qualify for something, but maybe the buyer, Laura, wants to keep the monthly payment of the mortgage at a lower amount. So even if somebody qualifies for up to $300,000, $400,000, maybe they want to keep their monthly mortgage at, I'm going to make up a number, $1,500 a month. Well, that's not going to be 300, 400,000. That's going to be closer to like 200, 250,000, all things being equal. So there's that conversation, I know, Laura, that you have with the buyer. And then in turn, both of you tell me, hey, Michael, the buyers qualify for up to 400,000, but they want to keep their monthly mortgage at X. So the maximum will be, Z, whatever that number is. And then that is my guide to showing them properties.
mhm. Yeah, and they know then that if they want to adjust how they spend their money, they could, adjust up a little bit if they're just not finding what they want. It gives them
Right.
kind of, where they would ideally like to be and where they could go if they wanted to adjust spending out of, these play areas and more into, their home. So it
Right.
really is, personal preference, how you like to spend your money, what other additional obligations that you have
Yep.
that, so you really have to have those conversations.
Yep. Well
So
said.
part of the qualifying is where do you get your income from? And these are all valid sources of income. We have your regular employment income. We have child support alimony, with a little caveat that we have to show that you're receiving it, and there has to be a continuance for 3 years. So generally speaking, if you get child support and you've been getting it, but your child is already 17 years old and the child support ends when the child is 18 or high school is over, then you don't have 3 more years. So we're not going to use that income to qualify for the mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Same with alimony. You have to have that 3 years continuance. You can use investment income. So if you have a big investment portfolio and you're paying yourself out of, the interest that's earned, and that's been a regular item that you're receiving, we would see it on your tax returns. And we can see that there's enough funds to continue generating that kind of income, we would use that. Of course, retirement income, people have pensions, they have Social Security. We do get a continuance letter from the Office of Personnel Management. It just says that it's a lifetime payment. They just call up, I give them the number. It's easy to get that. Self-employment income gets a little tricky. This is whether you own a business or you're 1099 like contract employee. We need 2 years of filed tax returns for that business, plus the year-to-date profit and loss statement to see how the business is doing in the current year. So if you just started a business, somebody just started a business a year ago, they wouldn't have 2 years tax returns. We're not going to be able to use that income from that particular stream. But sometimes people have a W-2 job and they have a business. So we would use the W-2, but not necessarily the business income because they don't have that track record yet. And then, people have rental properties. We use income from the rental properties as long as we see it on the tax returns, and if it's a brand new rental, we get the property lease.
So this is so comprehensive, and you touched on so many things, Laura. I think this is a great resource and a great guide for buyers. I will add one little piece, and that is when it comes to retirement income, pension, whatever, I've always been told that if a buyer dips into that, there may be some tax ramifications. So it's important to talk to your accountant. Is that correct, Laura?
Like if they're taking funds from like a retirement as far
Yes.
as for the purchase?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Aren't there some tax ramifications?
They could have tax
Yeah,
ramifications.
that's all I'm saying. That's all.
Sometimes the first time home buyer that's withdrawing funds from the 401k is not subject to the penalty, but they still pay
Right.
income tax on it. I actually talked about it to a tax accountant about that the other day.
Right. That's all.
So you
Yeah.
would pay the income taxes because it's income to you because you took it out of your retirement. But if
Right.
it's first time home buyer and you document that property properly, then that should be exempt from the 10% IRS penalty. Of course, they change these laws every year, so you
Right.
always have to check in the current tax year what are the new rules and guidelines so that you know what's coming up
Yep.
from, because the IRS, they change everything all the time. So I'm not a
Mhm.
tax accountant.
Yep.
I just wanted to remind people on this slide that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance make up your mortgage payment. And that's what we call PITI or PITA. People pronounce it differently, PITI.
Yep.
So that is the elements of your mortgage payment, because we're going to use those elements to calculate the first qualifying ratio. So
Okay.
here we are to the math. So I have a borrower that makes $80,000 a year. And you take 80,000, you divide that by 12, and that's $6,666 per month. Now, this is the gross amount, and it's before, the Fed and the state and FICA all get withdrawn and anything else gets withdrawn from your paycheck. So we're using the gross taxable income amount for the calculation. This borrower just works a W-2 job, gets paid for 40 hours a week. It's a stable, fixed 40 hours every week, doesn't change. And that's what we mean by fixed, that the hours don't change. The borrower goes in every day and works 40 hours for the week. They don't get any overtime. And so it's just a straight calculation. Now, if our borrower has paychecks that show 32 hours on one paycheck and 38 on another and 39.5 on another and 41 on another, that is not fixed number of hours. That is variable. And whenever we see variable, the guideline changes. We then have to average their income over the past 2 years. So that would be 21 and 22, plus the year-to-date figure, and average it out over that number of months to get the income. And then it usually is lower because they have oscillating number of hours.
Right.
And if 2021 they took off, whatever, they took off 3 months, all of that still goes into the average, so that figure can come way down. So it's very important that we observe the paychecks. We ask the borrower, are your hours variable? Are they fixed? I explain it to them. And then we also get a verification of employment from the employer, because we're trying to be very thorough. Because believe me, that calculation and all the guidelines have become very, very picky about this fixed versus variable income. It's kind of a little pain point at the moment.
Yep.
So they're really spending a lot of time. So if we had this mortgage payment here at $2,672, to calculate the housing ratio, we would take the 2,672 and divide it by the 6,666, and we would get 40%. So 40% of the borrower's gross income is going towards a housing payment. Now that may work. That may be an approvable ratio. The ratio guidelines usually start at about 28, 29% of your gross income, but we can push that depending on the buyer's debt structure. How much debt do they carry?
Right. If they have a lot of debt versus very little debt, that could swing either way.
So the monthly debt obligations would include any other mortgage payments they might have, cars, student loans, installment loans, credit cards, store cards, or any other kind of recurring debt. Now, this is where I talked about a little bit about what's your spending plan versus what are you qualified for. Because we do not take into account child care, utilities, groceries, insurance policies that you carry, like life insurance, auto insurance. So these kind of payments don't get put into the qualifying mix on most loans. Now, child care does on a VA loan, but that's the only loan that does that. So, that's just bringing it back up because it's so vital to make a good decision is, how much can you truly spend on your housing payment every month, considering everything that you have to pay out.
Right.
So going back to our math, we had this buyer had a car payment, student loans, several credit cards, and a store card. So if they had $1,440 in debt, we add that to the house payment, and that came out to total expenses of $4,112. You divide that by their monthly income, and you get 61%. Woo, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a no.
too much debt.
Too much debt or too much house or little too much of each.
So what's the highest debt to income ratio? What's the highest percentage without going over?
Well, on a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac product, that's your conventional product buckets, 50% is the highest they will go.
Okay.
So if this borrower, maybe they add a family member to the loan and they get their income up to 100,000, then the math would change and we would have a 49%. So they could add a borrower onto the loan, may get more income and bring the ratio in line. That would be one thought.
Mhm.
Or say they had some money in savings and we paid off some debt. We paid
Yeah.
off the car because it didn't only had, about a year left. We paid off a credit card, we paid off the store card. That would get their debts down to 675, and then they would be at a 50 ratio. And
Very
with
good.
most loans, that would work.
And you just need, as the lender and underwriter, you need to just confirm that yea, verily, the car payment's been paid off and a couple of credit cards have been paid off. You just need some sort of verification.
Yes, we would either do it during the process and update their credit report, or we would collect the money at settlement and we would send out the payments as part of the settlement.
Right, which is why too, Laura, that one does not want to take on a car payment. That is, don't buy a car while you're buying a house. It's like that's gonna upset this Apple cart, Laura, and we don't like our Apple carts upset.
Right, and that has been done many times, like,
Yes, it
or
has.
people get a credit card because, oh, the store is going to give
Yeah.
you a discount if you check out
Yeah,
and open that credit card.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
back to the drawing board when these things happen.
right.
So basically, you just want to know the math here. So
That's
you
all.
know when your loan officer says, your housing expense ratio is, that's the house payment divided by your gross income. You add the house payment plus your monthly debt obligations, divide that by your gross income. That's your debt to income ratio. So we
Excellent.
try to keep that about 50. FHA can be a little more flexible on that. And I've gotten loans approved above 50%. Not every time, but a good number of the times it does work.
Right.
So you want to buy the house that you can afford, the one that's within your spending plan, the one that, because you don't want to, this is a lot of people, half of the purchases this year are first time home buyers. So most likely this is your first home and not your last home. So buy what you can afford. Michael will tell you real estate is location, location, location. Try to get in a nice neighborhood on a nice lot, structurally sound. Maybe the house needs cosmetic work, but if it has a good floor plan, you can work on your projects one by one and make it into, the more of what you want, even if it's not initially everything you want. You're still in a home. Because I'm going to say this, this is basically my tagline. You won't get to your dream home without first purchasing your first home.
Yep.
You got to get in the game. You got to be in the race to keep going towards that finish line.
Well, and Laura, thank you so much for this PowerPoint today. I hope that our viewers today have learned a lot. And if anybody would like to connect with Laura, take a look there. You can also like, subscribe, and share, and you can message us at any time. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to help you out, especially Laura with this topic. So thank you so much for this. This is quite an education for all of us watching this.
Thank you. And I hope everybody learned something. I am here to help you with your personal, unique math because everybody's different. And, if you're not quite ready or you're a little overextended on the credit, we can develop a plan to start getting that paid off so that you can work towards your goal of home ownership. So thanks for being here this week. And we are signing off.